the permission, because we need to test in Singheng Canon. Then yesterday when we go through the permission, only can test in Samira localhost, and she said that her part is done, but still need Angular programmer to do the front-end part.
Implement them.
Okay.
And my problem is when they say done, when we want to test, they have something else need to do.
Okay.
Then we are not aware of that part.
That means that currently, can I summarize to say that this is a problem of done but not done?
Yeah.
Okay. Number one, we have a problem with done but not done. Number two, in our today's discussion, I think we also discussed about some permission structure just now. The permission tie with role, permission permission structure, the role tie with the permission in one screen lah. And then the role tie with the target assignee or target in another screen, and the team or team and user and target in another screen. Okay. Anything else that need to be discussed?
The Angular one. The Angular implementation.
Angular implementation.
Like based on the login subject, alright.
Customize the UI based on
Yes.
permission.
Probably can explain first what is have been done and what need to be done also.
Angular, sorry, can I get a bit of clarification from Stephen on
Okay,
the
for example, let's say you have a person who is a supplier, alright. So you set some permissions like, okay, you can create purchase order, you can edit purchase order, you can read purchase order, alright. And the settings have been done in the back end, alright. But how about the Angular, like the button should not appear or should appear,
Visibility.
those kind of things, right? Yeah.
button should appear, should not appear. This
For
is
example, and also
this is UI
Customization.
UI guideline.
the UI changes according to some permissions or whatever, right?
Okay.
And also the data, data, what they see depends on whether they are supplier or let's say if they are, let's say, staff. Example, supplier should not see other suppliers' data. For example, that one is it okay? Jappy,
You asking about the requirement.
How about Chiapi? Is there something you want to include in the agenda of
But
the?
before we do talk about, I want probably she can present what actually she has done. Then we can voice out what actually was not done yet.
Okay. Actually, what has been done? For the 1.5 months, right? The role.
Yeah, you can go to the
Okay.
row.
No, not the row part. What I meant is more to the
More to
module
the-
part. Because the problem
Yeah,
is
the
at the
template
module
part.
part now. So we discuss about the module because rows
Okay,
we already
okay.
aware of that.
I mean, I didn't publish yesterday, right? Publish. Why it's cannot Ansen Heng
Means
published,
there are
right?
8 factors.
She published Ansen Heng.
Oh, Singheng.
Yeah.
Okay. So no problem. I can go to the Singheng. .account.net. So let me sign in.
Who published it? Okay, yeah.
Is there a script for permission?
Okay, am I supposed to see this? Okay.
Yeah, Senheng supplier orders.
Senheng supplier orders.
Okay, just go to the sitting down. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Currently, what we agreed before is to do this screen, right?
Yes.
And apply this screen to the other modules. Okay. Apply
That
it
means
to the other.
duplicate this print to other DO
Yeah,
module and
to-
invoice module.
Yeah, but I have discussion before with Vincent, and we find our way to do it one. And you remember, right? For this screen, to make
okay.
it. You remember this discussion.
Yeah, yeah.
So, by the way, this screen is done, and now it grant permission. So,
Okay.
for example, you can, for permission description, you can choose whatever permission you want. Check. No, here. You can
Okay.
check here any permission you want. You can. Now we use the role because the role is the one it is already done. Later the team.
This
And-
one is permission, the role.
Yeah,
okay.
the role. Supposed
But,
to have team and user later, but.
I'm
we
supposed
did-
to see. Okay, never
I
mind.
just hide
Okay.
it now.
Yeah.
And choose the role, and here when you click click here. This is the role what inside it from the role applet. So you can choose any role. You create this one, Vincent. Yeah, and the target supplier, and you can choose the supplier you want.
This one.
Supplier's code.
Okay.
Okay.
Samira, for that part, can we hide the others like company branch or whatever first? Because
I hide
it's
it.
more on the beach.
I hide it.
Ah.
I hide it. So can choose another if you want to add for supplier or more than supplier, okay, and assign. This now permission is added and they granted all this permission.
Okay, permission has been granted. Okay, you only done for PO, isn't it? You haven't done for DO, invoice, anything.
For this, I applied it for PO, and you can consider it applied for the others because we will make this general module. We will put it in the library, okay, and for other we will send parameters. So no need to copy it to the other modules.
That means you will move out this screen out.
Yes.
Okay.
And you remember we discussed about it.
If you move this screen out, then you put some parameter whether to differentiate whether it's a PO,
Exactly.
DO or anything.
Yeah.
How long will it take more time?
By the applet is it?
By module.
No, actually,
Yeah lah, maksud by applet.
actually in Angular, most of you have already got experience and understand what is a component.
Yeah.
So when we develop the component, you can actually copy the component out and paste it, and then make changes from there.
No, we know, but previously when we thought every module will have its own component for permission. But now she's going to make it general. I mean, she's going to move out this out.
You remember about our discussion?
Okay, don't worry. Let's talk about this. So how to?
Okay, now you're saying what you have done. Okay, this is done on this page.
Yeah, this is done. on
It's
this
already
page.
done in
Yeah,
page.
done.
Okay, when we click here, when we already click in this page, I think it should be automatically the permission applied to the PO. Why it need to? Okay, there are two ways.
Okay.
One, okay, like when we put the permission in separate.
Okay.
When we put in the permission, I click there. In this current page in purchase order listing,
Yeah.
I need to give if this permission status equal to true or something.
Okay.
This is not allowed. Something biological. Okay. So when I was thinking, when you already put the setting of the permission inside the PO module itself, when I click in the PO module, let's say I click a button to create. When I click here, automatically it can be like, okay, when this is clicked, this component cannot be used or these things cannot be used. It can be done that the other way around, isn't it?
You mean the screen? What you
Not the
exactly-
screen. I'm not talking about the screen. If let's say what you are saying to create, to update, to delete.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let's say purchase order create.
Okay.
Okay. They are purchase order create, purchase order edit, purchase order delete. Assume.
Okay.
And you have purchase order permission.
Yeah.
Okay. It's everything in one applet.
Yeah.
Okay. When in the purchase order permission part setting, if let's say I tick purchase order create, that
Yeah.
means allowed to only to create, the rest not allowed.
Yes,
If
exactly.
this is done, why do I still have to adopt the code in purchase order create? If in the same page, why don't in the purchase order permission part, if this is ticked, automatically it can be done, the rest of it cannot be, when they go in, they cannot edit or cannot. Why it's not only control in the permission setting, why still I need to write the code in purchase order create edit to make it work?
You got the point?
I
What
understand.
she-
Let me repeat what you say.
Uh,
Right. Basically, what you are trying to say is that there are many different applet, and in each applet there are many different functions.
yes.
So even if it is within the same applet, there is a create applet, edit applet, listing applet, and this
Add component, edit component. We're not talking.
edit-
Inside one applet, there are few components. We're talking about components. Purchase order, create component, edit component, delete component, and
Yeah.
permission setting component.
Yeah.
So 4 components. So now the permission setting component, there is already code done. So inside, if let's say I tick a checkbox saying that permission for purchase order create is already given, why don't this automatically take control of that component? Sending instruction that when someone click here, they can't, because currently we can call within the component, isn't it?
It's something else. The one she is talking about.
No, I think you have asked a very good and valid
Because
question.
why I was saying this, because I got to know from the information when it's not done but not done is she already done her part. She's saying that in order this to work, so you have to write a code in my own component in order to make it work, correct?
Can I say something? She said that she's correct. So we are correct. For example, your applet, you have a PO, right? You have create, edit,
Yeah.
update, something. So you have to implement her permission from
That's
the
what she's
user.
saying, yeah.
So for example,
I'm
you have
saying
4
the other
buttons.
way around.
You have four buttons. Yeah. So you don't have to be visible. How you hide the buttons in order to the user to see what he can do? You will not show all the 4 buttons to all users because not all the users have the permissions. So you have to get the permission for me, for her, for anyone else.
Yes.
Then you display, for example, me, I'm super admin. I will have 4 buttons. For example, you have only create. You just can create. So you don't have to have the update, the delete button appear on the screen. So in that place, you cannot even go to the component, next component. And also you have to give a check, for example, if the user, for example, very smart and he go to URL and he write the URL. When he go to URL and he doesn't have permission,
That's right.
he have to redirect to error page.
When the permission
Yeah.
is already given in the permission setting, why?
No, but if
For
it's
each
given to
user,
permission,
it's
if it's
different.
given to the user,
To the
it's not
user.
implemented in the applet.
Yeah, it's for the
So I say,
user.
why we can do the other way around also, no need to employ. Okay, let's say the admin. For sure they have the role. The role is already assigned to this particular user. If this role can only create, you already set it out
Yeah.
here. Can't it take control of that?
No, it cannot be controlled that. Because this one, the code need to be in the component itself, in the PO component, in the DO component, and invoice component. What she does is,
Okay,
she
so-
gives the rules. And
Okay, now
every
what
department have to...
I'll give you an example. Let's say one of the permission is to view cost price. So the viewing of the cost price is not, you cannot really control it using the router. You know that in Angular there is a router that actually you
No, that one I
set the
understand.
URL, right?
Because
So
this is low level, that's why I'm saying this is only create. Because for
no, even create, what I'm trying to say is regardless of whether can view cost, can create all these things, it is actually should be implemented inside the component.
that one I understand.
Yeah,
Because
so-
this is currently for sending purpose.
Yeah.
That's I'm talking on sending perspective because it's only few. That's why I'm saying the other way it can be done. I'm talking on
So in the
sending
component,
way.
how it should be done? I mean, your way.
Never mind. I think I can.
No, this is what came to my mind. Just to make it things done very simple.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of component and there are a lot of time consuming. It's already near. Now only we found out this kind of things.
No, the logic it will be like this exactly.
No, it's okay.
When
I'm just
login
suggesting.
subject, okay, when login subject, just log into the system. We need to pull the permission that he has and based on that permission, you customize.
Okay, have you tried in the purchase order? You're done your permission, which you already done.
For my job is to grant the permissions and to the customization for each.
So for you to
each
test out whether you did really granted the permission properly, did you test it out by writing a single line of few codes in our purchase order listing to test whether it is working or not?
For me to test it, I tested using Postman. I
Postman.
already viewed the permission that
Postman, because
and for this I tried example with her with the Yvonne yesterday. Just give me, I will tell you. I tried for her before I grant you admin or role owner. You can add or edit anything. She cannot, but after I grant her the permission, she can do everything. Before it was rejected from the backend, and later she can do everything. So this part is tested.
for Postman, I did try before you did the stream. Remember, I even show Jape the whole Postman how it works. I show through Postman it can be done. Now we are implementing in Angular. What I'm saying is, you already create that page. It's already done.
Okay.
I see you can click, we can do. In order for me to see whether it really can be used, can't you give us one sample in the purchase order listing, because all of it is working. You do one part, you write and test working, then we can take control from that. That's all I'm asking.
That's why this is what I
This
saw
is what
yesterday.
when she says she's going to do for PO module, what I have in mind is she do one, which is working. Then I and Hassan we do for other screen, all other screens.
Actually, this is nonsense. You know why? Because the way that I grant permission to the roles, it's the same way that I grant the permissions for the PO. And before I grant her the permission, she cannot do anything. It's rejected from the backend, and I already tested with her. Now it's the same concept for.
No, because
I know, because I also did from backend. Even view branch, everything I did, I already demoed to Jape. Even Jape C, we tested together. Everything was working 2 months ago, is it? I did with Jape. Seriously I did. Before, from the backend Postman I did.
The problem is you need a sample on how to implement the
Yes,
permission.
if you want me to sit
I will do
now,
it.
I can.
I will do it.
You know how?
It's very simple. I'm only asking for that, Vincent.
It's okay.
Time consumes.
Adali offered to help, okay?
That's all done.
I'll do the sample, then everybody can.
Yeah, we want to finish this project. I have invoice in my hand.
No problem,
Hassan
no
is
problem.
far away. Once Jape is testing, bugs is coming, I'm doing it also.
Okay.
So if let's say I want to sit and go through the permission code, actually I also can say you find another program, but I don't want, because it's still under my responsibility. This is under my project. Still I am the programmer who's doing it. So the
Yeah,
thing
no,
is,
no
when they're
problem,
telling
no
me the situation, for my concern, I need one sample. It's not that I can't be doing it. I also have to sit and think about it. But I have no time to do that.
I can give you after for example, now
You do one, which is all.
I just show under the row and I give it to the supplier. We will try with the user, so it's the same.
No, you do in the purchase order listing, because you do it. You did the PO module, the permission done. In the purchase order listing, you just show me one works
Yeah, we'll do it.
done.
I will do
Once
it.
it's done,
Can we move to
I
another
will
point?
after
Okay.
my invoice,
Can
I
we
will
move
go
to
to
another
that.
point?
That's what we need.
Summarize, so Adali, thank you for the offer. Really appreciate it.
I will do other review. Don't worry.
Because I know
We'll
that's
get
what
to it.
Jape and JL
He
did.
is taking more on top of what he's supposed to do, okay?
I will do it. Yours will be done.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all. Then I will implement. You only do purchase order listing. In PO, there are a lot of other components. I will adopt to other components for DO and everything. Okay, then another thing. You done for PO module now. You say you're going to move it out,
Yeah.
or you are going to leave it. If you move out, if you need the code, it will be different.
It's okay, but it will be the same.
Okay,
you see, no, it's okay. If she make it a shareable component, you will only need to get the selector and put
Parameters
the
and
component.
everything. But the thing is,
It's about selector. You put the selector as a component, it will be there in your.
I know it's very easy to say. how
I will
long
do
will
it.
it take time to do? Now is the time is the thing.
You can ask for him. I will do it.
No, you will do it, but she have to move it out.
When she move it out, I will read.
Okay, that's what we are discussing. How
I
long
will
will it take her
refactor.
to move it out?
How
Then
long?
how long will it take you to do it? Then I have to prepare my time. I have to give my schedule in
Today
order
I
to
will
do
do
it.
the sample and.
No, you cannot do the sample yet. She have to move it out first.
Norizan, he can do the sample even it's here. Even it's here, he can do
No,
sample.
later the
you know,
parameter is different.
if you want sample, you can do it by yourself. Just add
I'm
one
telling
supplier,
you,
add
Samira,
one
Samira,
supplier
Samira.
as an
Samira.
Wait, hold on.
Samira.
Adali, you're saying something?
No, it's okay. If she move it out, now we do the sample only to check the.
Okay.
the
You show to
flow.
Jape
Okay.
once it's done, then I will take
Then
over from
when
there.
she move it up,
Uh-huh.
I talk to her and we do another sample. I will
Okay.
change it to make it work in the PO.
Yeah.
Because you
Then
will
I
get
will
the
do for
schedule.
rest.
Yeah,
That's
no
all.
problem.
Okay, if
I will ask
I
Hassan
may
now.
stop for a while. Okay, it's clear. We're going back. You know, we're going round and round. the
Yeah, so
circle,
there's
okay?
point down.
Number one, she's gonna move it. How long? How long will it take?
Vincent, you remember yesterday I went meeting with you to decide where to move it, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we decide where to move it. By tomorrow it will be ready.
It will be ready by tomorrow. And then
Yeah.
how long are you gonna take to do the other stuff?
The testing.
3 hours.
3 hours, Jape. Because you know why we're asking? Because we need to send
The timeline.
the timeline for
Okay.
go live preparation. If we cannot, then we're gonna move again.
So you're saying by Friday it can be done?
3 hours just to test one feature.
No, he will be writing the code.
No, what I meant is there are other things to test,
Mm.
which is PO, GRN, and so on and so on. So everything is how long? For
No,
example,
he's doing only for PO.
3 hours.
I will do sample.
For
Huh?
PO.
Okay. Then later on they will implement. Every programmer have to do in his own applet. I will not go to every screen. I will just do sample. So just follow them.
Not all programmer, only
I
one
think we
programmer.
have not
will do.
really heard from the user what frustration they are facing, right? Because now you
So I
implement these
have a-
permissions is already on the API level, alright? But the user experience when they're testing it, okay, we have not really heard what is the thing that is making them so frustrated.
Actually,
Yes.
I give you an example.
Yeah.
Let's say when I was clicking on this button here,
Mm.
just now there are two screens that I was, let's say on a supplier,
Yes.
not supplier purchase order. I go back to the
Tenant row.
tenant row. Where is it?
Just the left.
Okay.
Tenant row.
Okay. So if I go to the tenant row, I have a row listing here. Let's say if I have selected the Sengheng UAT here,
Okay.
okay, of course it will load very good. But when I click the add row here, I would expect this Sengheng UAT to be remembered, right? So that I don't have to keep selecting.
Okay.
Now, this is very small thing, but depends on which expectation level we are setting. If we go by Steve Jobs level, fail already lah. But if go by me as a programmer level, I think pass lah. But if go by some normal average user, maybe they give 50% lah, but not A lah. Alright, you know, for me as a programmer, of course 80%. Okay ma, just click only ma. but to the user is different.
Yeah.
Is different. So the expectation is different.
Yeah. One thing of like for those kind of small things, if the project owner, sometimes the programmer, you know, it's like it's very obvious, but the programmer will not do it, and like because nobody told him. So all the details should be explicitly expressed. Like I want this color to be red. You have to be told
Okay.
sometimes.
I have one question. Let's just say, if I ask somebody to record a screen capture and then save it and then do this and then do that, it's going to take a long time, right?
Yeah.
Right. But we know that the picture paint 1,000 words and the video paint 1,000 pictures. So today I just want to show you how fast it is to do a video. You think how long it will take?
To make a video.
Let's say to record all these things. How does to select which part is not working? from the time I start recording to the time I actually send the video to let's say Jia Pei, I telegram to her or upload to YouTube or just save to Google Drive as it.
It will be very fast, ma'am. Then describe.
How long? 10 seconds? 10 minutes?
For sure.
10 minutes?
When you put in the word, it's much more better to.
Yeah. So from the recording to the click. How long?
Yeah.
How long?
If
5 minutes?
Let's say I
5
can
minutes?
take it within fast, it will be few minutes. Yeah.
Few minutes,
Yeah, in one sitting.
Okay. You take a look at your clock, your watch, See how long it take,
My watch is very fast one.
Okay.
What program is this?
Let's say I'm Jia Pei, I'm talking to Samira. Hey Samira, you see I click on the role listing here or I select tenant already, but I expect that later when I click on the role, the tenant here is automatically selected, correct, So that's it.
3 minutes, ma'am.
No.
It's done.
No.
My watch is fast.
Okay, where so
1 minute,
so
1 minute.
now I finished talking already, right? You can play even the clicking Say I'm Jia Pei, I'm talking to Samira. Hey Samira, you see I click on the role listing here or I select tenant already, but I expect okay, so you can download it as a file or you don't even want to download it.
Copy as a video.
You can just click here,
We want that kind of
okay,
thing.
and then after that
Can we all change the map?
in here, straight away I paste it to
I have.
I paste it to the group.
I have.
I control V. This is a test. Please ignore.
Vincent, before you give us the video, give us a MacBook first.
Okay.
If not, how we are going to do that?
No, do you see how fast it is?
Yeah.
Command out, record, stop, then stop, and straight away put in the page. Control.
How to do it without a tool? Give her a mouse.
Yeah.
Make
We
me
need a
No need.
the laptops lah.
If I don't do by myself, I don't.
The secret is not in the laptop. The secret is because you need to download this program. This program is called QQ International. So English, so you type QQ International.
Quick time.
QQ International.
Check.
Remember last
Okay,
time we used
I am
it
QQ.
for office. Before we moved to Telegram, we used
Okay,
QQ.
this is QQ International. They have in English. So after you install the QQ International, then you must remember to click on the preferences. Okay, this is the preferences. So in the preferences, you have to go to the other. This is hidden somewhere in the function, under function, the other. Then there's a preferences. Then you click the preferences here. You set your shortcut here, either Command Z lah, Command R lah, or something like that. So the moment you set this thing
The
here,
hotkey.
then the hotkey, then you can capture, Control V, Command V, done in less than 10 seconds.
Wow.
Right? And I tell you, I'm a freak of productivity because I don't have enough time to do too many things. So everything that I do, I look for the most efficient, optimal method to do. Okay, today's discussion is not about the QQ. But it is some additional tool that you can use.
Okay, go back to.
Okay, go back to the Jamboard. Okay.
Okay.
Now. Okay.
We answer all the questions here. No.
No.
We have to start now.
Okay, this part, because today sitting with us, there are technical and non-technical users, audience and participants. So what we do is that I'm going to discuss about the things that the layman can understand, like you, not programmer, you can understand. If in any part that you find it is confusing, please stop me and then please ask questions. Vincent, stop, I don't understand what you're talking about. Okay?
Can I just watch the video later because I have another meeting?
Yeah, okay. How about Adali?
I have to.
How about
Just watch.
Nabila?
No, Nabila needs to be here. And
Okay, so Nabila, maybe you join us. Okay, so when we are talking about the permissions, what I'm seeing here is that a lot of us are actually quite confused. Not confused lah. Actually, maybe you do not get a big picture. I remember that previously I have recorded another video on permissions, explaining about the tenant lah, the master lah, the assignee link and all those things. Today, I'm not talking about that. Today I'm talking about different thing that I think based on our discussion just now, I sort of like capture on a few points that I believe maybe the programmer is not very clear yet. So it's better that we clarify and agree on a certain method to do it. Then later everybody can do it the same way. Okay. So if I were to go to the points that we have recorded, the first point about done but not done. This problem is because we have. Are you joining or something? Okay. This problem is because of communication breakdown. That's number one. Communication breakdown is when you are expected to do something, but you don't know that you are expected to do something, so you didn't do it, but other people expect it. So there's an expectation gap. So when there's an expectation gap, then there's misunderstanding. So that there's this kind of situation happen. Now on this part, actually project managers play a very big role. So on the Nabila, on the JL side, you actually play quite a big role, so that this kind of communication gap can be reduced. But of course, being a non-technical user, non-programmer, to be running a construction development project versus to run an IT project is different. That's why we call it experience. And your experience of managing this, then in the future when you do new project, you realize, oh, actually permission not so simple. I need to clarify this, and this. Not only this, then you get better each time. Okay. So number two is that from the programmer perspective, this communication gap happen when I see actually most of the team members here want the project to be successful, but the problem is lacking of knowledge, lacking of understanding. Now this knowledge and understanding is not like Java or TypeScript where you can read from the internet. Now because we are building a big ledger platform, and maybe in the whole world there's only one big ledger platform. Maybe there are other platforms, but we are only building the breakthrough new platform or something like that. So in this respect, some of this information is actually not a question of whether you are good, you are no good, or you are smart, or you are stupid, or whatever. It doesn't matter. Because these structures are structures that everybody, it's so customized in what we want to build, so there's no way that you can get this information from anywhere else, not the internet. So therefore, in order to minimize this gap, and in order to establish some standards, I would say that we need to improve in the way we run the team. For example, we need to have more forums, we need to have more discussions, we need to have I think 2 years ago we used to have a once a week whereby we get the programmers into the room here, and then we buy all the tidbits, and then we have food and chit chat and coffee together. I think I'm also okay to, let's say, if you guys like, if you don't like, never mind, but if you guys like, I think maybe I don't mind once a week or something like that, the company sponsor dinner, and then we can just, anyway you need to have dinner, right, every day, so it's just have dinner on a specific day, then we have dinner, and then somebody talk, we can eat and listen, and at the same time, so you save time, and then and then it try to build some bond relationship in the team. only once a week, or don't have to be every week. Maybe like this week you guys okay, I'll come. Okay, then next week don't need. Okay, maybe once every 2 weeks, or if one every 2 weeks is too frequent, then we do it once a month. You think once a month is okay? I don't know. Is it too often?
Maybe lunch is better than dinner.
I'm okay. Lunch, dinner, or something
If
like
lunch
that.
every week, we can do it. If lunch,
I'm okay.
every week
Lunch.
can do it.
I'm okay. I'm okay. Or breakfast.
If lunch every day also can.
Huh?
If lunch every day also can.
Breakfast. Breakfast.
Breakfast no, I hear people don't take breakfast. No.
The budget get reduced if the frequency increase, because there's
Lunch every week will be okay, because some cannot be.
Is there anybody who can volunteer to organize? Because we
Lunch, is it?
Huh?
Lunch no need to organize.
No, we are not going to restaurant to eat. No, we are buying tapao the food back to the thing so that we can eat, and then somebody talk, then they just eat lah, and then.
It's the same way that we organize Webland training, right? AMB training. So you can, maybe not.
Okay. So anyway, the done but not done, I think the large part is due to communication gap, due to knowledge, due to understanding, and also of course in terms of project planning and all that stuff, when our work breakdown structure is not detailed enough. But at the same time, if you ask a programmer why you didn't think of this at the start, then the programmer will look at it. Hey, I work very hard, Why you question me like that? Are you questioning my loyalty or my effort and commitment? I work so hard, So but at the same time, the result don't happen. I just want to share with you this video. Only 30 seconds video, okay? That's it, 30 seconds. Nokia CEO, he didn't do anything wrong, but somehow they lost.
Suddenly,
He didn't do anything wrong. But a big company like Nokia didn't do anything wrong, but they just lost. The company collapsed, sold to Microsoft, and then something like that. So what I'm trying to say is that in our team, you don't have to do anything wrong, but the project can still fail. And when the project fail or delay also considered not so serious fail, not customer didn't cancel the project, but delay, break deadline, break budget, all these things are considered also some failure lah. Not big failure, but small failure lah. But so what I'm trying to say is that one of the very key things that we need to establish in our team here is actually your attitude. That means that the personal attitude. What I'm saying about personal attitude, every programmer here, Rizan, whoever, including Jape, including Nabila, including myself, okay. When things don't work out, including myself, instead of I become defensive. Defensive. Not my fault. It's your fault.
find a way to solve the conflict.
Yeah, correct. It's more important that we sit down to solve the conflict. We are all growing up from different background, coming from different country, different age, different family background, different religion, different whatever. So it is very normal and common for us to have a different style, different culture, different priorities, different something like that. Now, what I respect most is not if let's say for example, Ehab, I'm your friend, every day I'm good to you, I'm nice to you, I say hello to you, then you are nice back to me. Versus another person that maybe I'm not so nice to him, I'm not giving him a lot of money, giving him a lot of things, but this person in my time of trouble are willing to help me. But you also help me. That's because I help you 1,000 times already. Then I have one help you, then you help me back. So the other person is you're not doing a lot of good to him, but he's giving you. Which one will you value more? The other one, right?
Yeah.
That's because you have to ask yourself whether it's a relationship, whether it is a family, whether it is a company, co-workers. It is very easy for you to be nice to somebody when they are nice to you, very easy. But when things are easy, just like a piece of iron, when you don't know whether it's a copper or an iron, until you actually put it under the heat, the fire, then you will know copper melt.
Yeah.
But the iron don't melt yet, right? So what I'm trying to say is that sometimes, although we have fight, we have whatever, but the real challenge is actually not. The real challenge is not whether we have fight or we don't have fight. Actually, have fight is okay, but more importantly is how we handle the conflict, how we actually resolve the conflict. Yeah. Can you assure me that you go to a workplace, you go to any other company, you will not have a conflict?
No, it's impossible.
Everywhere also you sure got conflict. Every country, every place, everywhere that you go, even with your family members, sometimes also there's conflict. So the challenge is not about having conflict or not having conflict.
Handling the conflict.
Handling, how you handle. Okay. So let's go back to this done but not done means that we need to improve communication and we need to actually have more knowledge sharing sessions, and also the way we handle the conflict, we can move things a lot faster. Number two is that when it comes to the permission structure, now this one is quite interesting. Just now before we start this meeting, I had a short discussion with Samira. So all of us we know that we have a permission, okay, then we have a assignee. This assignee can be a group, can be a group is a team or team, and then can be role
or user,
or sometimes we call it the login subject. Okay, then we have the target. That means that if they have a permission to create invoice, they can have a target by branch,
company location,
by company, by location, or even by entity, which is
Supplier.
a supplier or something like that. Okay, now, and then we have a table that is called the link table. This is the permission assignee link table. And this table is the one table that actually link all these things together. Okay, so this table, then it will be linked together. Now, if you go back to this screen is actually adding row screen. Okay, now when we are looking at adding row screen, right, what happened is that we are actually only adding this part, the row part. Okay, so when we are adding only this row part, we Samira was saying that Vincent, why not when we are adding the row, we also attach the permission to the row, so that when we attach the permission to the row, we can actually when we are trying to assign a user to this row, when we are assigning the user to this row, then we select the target to which branch. That means that instead of, that means that in this screen, instead of just adding the row, now she's saying that we do the association together. Association together. Now, then she start asking me, wouldn't this be more user friendly? Actually, to me, while I think this is also possible and needed under a certain scenario, but it is so important for me to actually explain to you. Now I want to draw this in yellow color, okay, in yellow color. Number one, when we when we are linking this one, the row, to the permission as an association, then after that we associate the user to the row, and then we associate the, let's say, by entity to this. This is only one scenario, and in this scenario we actually have a create row and association of the permission. This is the linking of the permission, and we happen to put these two in one step, and then we prefer to put the other thing in one step. But if you look at the design scientifically, you will realize that actually it is also possible for me to associate the group with the permission, or the row with the group first, then after that the group with the company, the target with the maybe some type of permission. I want to assign this first, then only I assign this. So there are actually altogether how many permutations and combinations? Many. Because in some of the association, we actually not only link two, it's possible that we link three together one shot in the same screen. Agree? So some of our customers will actually need, based on their organization structures, based on their whatever, needs to link it different way. Now, for the time side, which is also Norizan, at the later you'll be doing the API side. For your part, when you do the microservices at the back end, you need to actually make the microservices to be able to function under all type of permutations and combinations. The moment you start creating microservices that are actually tied to a certain bundle, then you will have a problem, because for the permission and the role alone, you will need to create at least 20-30 different type of endpoint just for the permission. Because if you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe I can also say that I want to link the permission to create an invoice by branch first, then only I assign it to a different role, right? So that way I will have a different, and also bear in mind that if I create this and linking this first, that means that I do a shortcut here, linking by branch to create an invoice, then only I assign to which group. I can also say that way. So when I say that way, I have a problem, because where do I store this information? Because by the time if I assign the permission to the branch first, and then later I want to have a screen to actually assign it to a certain group or certain role, I need to be able to pull out this list of association, right? So that means that if you analyze the requirement and the structures and possible combinations and the permutations, then you will start to realize that actually to store this, maybe I can make use of the link table, because in this link table I am able to have a link type. That means that this link type is to be used as a template. That means that we actually need to create a template or something like that. Maybe it is not good enough. Maybe we need to create another database table to store this half completed permissions as a template. Oh wow! And this template will only be used in certain places, certain screen. Now, of course, this one I think a bit complicated. I think version 3, version 2, version 3 we do lah. But for now, I would like to suggest that we don't do this part first. What we need to do now is to make it work first. That means that it meets the requirement for all the customer screen. I can tell you that for all the programmers, you celebrate not when you complete a project. You celebrate and you enjoy when you successfully write a piece of beautiful code. And when you can write a piece of beautiful code is when the code that you write not only is stable, bug-free, efficient, reliable, reusable, and well-designed and all that stuff. You want to make a project that just a software that works. I think university students also can do that, not a problem. But that is why when it comes to experience in the programming, even if you master the programming language, but sometimes when it comes to this kind of logic, the requirement of developing real-world applications. Even, let's say for example, just now I was recording a video to show you how to add role the tenant. There are 10 different ways of doing it. I give you an example. This tenant information can be stored inside a NGRX. It can be stored inside a service variable. It can be stored in a local variable. It can store in a session variable. It can be stored in the database as a user preference.
Right. We can do it as shared service and call it from instead of calling the endpoint each time.
And also, even the default tenant, when they select, it can be stored at a per applet level. It can be stored at a per user level. It can be stored at a per tenant level. It can be stored at a per group level or something like that. So this kind of skill sets or knowledge to how to weigh. Actually, this is like programming is like an art. There are many ways of painting a picture, but it's not necessary that if you use object-oriented programming, this is the best code, because some codes you intentionally don't want it to be object-oriented, because when you have an object-oriented and you have many class dependent on it, but this class is not stable yet, the moment you edit it, you have to test 100 other classes. So the reusability of the code sometimes can be a curse to be a dependency on the code. So what I'm trying to say is that at which point you say it is the correct way to do this, is correct way to do that. There's no correct wrong, but which is more suitable. And to actually understand which one is more suitable, of course, to begin with, you need to have super strong analytical skill. Even if you have that, still not enough. You actually need to also have the experience and the knowledge about the requirement, the industry, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we go back to our agenda today. These structures. So this is to answer my answer to Samira on this morning's discussion about whether we should put in the role screen, add the role screen to actually also put the permission linked to this role, which is addressed here.
Because currently the way we are using is just we use a name as a signee, but no use for it.
Understand?
Currently.
Yeah, but to do it properly, now you can see that there are many possibilities. So even if we do it, we need to actually think through what is the best way to do it. Right? Okay. The next thing that I want to discuss is actually go back to the first slide. So we talk about the permission structure in permission in one screen, or assigning the target team player in another screen. This is raised by Stephen, right? That means that is a permission structure. The role to the permission link in one. Oh, this one is the review one. Okay,
Just
sorry.
now.
Yeah, just now we already discussed.
Yes, you discussed.
Okay, the next one is Angular implementation, the UI guidelines and the UI changes. Just now somebody mentioned about the button.
Okay, let's say because okay, you are, because the permissions is create, update, edit or read or things like that, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes in one applet, right, you have these 4 permissions all in the applet, right? So the buttons are, they are mix of buttons. You can see that, for example, update, create or edit or maybe read.
I don't get.
things like that.
Can you give me one example screen?
One example screen.
Is it this one?
Okay, or not? Which one you're facing from?
Purchase order, for example, supplier list, that one, PO, when go to view,
PO view.
yeah, only can see the own supplier. Like Panasonic, only can see Panasonic information. Panasonic supplier code is PSN001.
PSN001.
Yeah.
Oh, this one is slightly different. This one is
Search nothing.
Because you have no permission to search.
But I think he's tenant owner.
Tenant owner what?
Suppose I can check if you are.
Time I'm tenant owner what? If I'm
I-
tenant owner, I'm supposed to have most, if not all, the permissions.
You own. I will check.
I'm not sure whether you are.
I will check. Just a minute. Suppose you are.
okay. The scenario mentioned by Jeffrey is slightly different, right? It's because last time Sherwin implemented this on the read internal permission, meaning that supplier can only see their own purchase order, but cannot see the other supplier's purchase order. It means that the first step is actually the user needs to go to the roles and permission screen, for example, all right, and then assign. You need to assign the read internal permission for that role, all right, and then what else needs to be done?
Okay, how many
Yeah.
of you?
So it's like, if this part also not clear, right? Okay.
Okay.
Not clear needs to do what, right? Okay, then how can they proceed with the testing lah?
I
For example,
understand.
right?
I understand. You see, the thing is that most of these files are okay. This is a simulation of a permission, right?
Okay.
How many of you have actually seen this file?
I've only seen once in.
No,
I
right?
don't know
But
about
it's
it.
not.
So
it's
so
not
I can tell you, this file was done like weeks or months ago, and when we do this file, I actually send an email to the team. I think it's in the Big Ledger Google group or something like that as well. Alright. So I can tell you the amount of information that coming through, like I'm like the traffic controller coming through, and then I have already filtered out 98% of the information that I discussed, and only the one that I think is applicable to everybody and whatever, then I post a message to the group. So I would like to urge that all of you actually click on the link, take a look. In case you do not understand or the explanation is not clear or something like that, I'll be more than happy to actually record a video, more explanation, have a meeting, discussion and all that stuff. Because software is like this. As the owner of the company, as a leader of the company, if these things cannot shortcut one, there's no shortcut one. If I want to save time by skipping the explanation to the team, at the end of the day it will cost the company more money, because we make the mistake, then we have to correction of the data, do all these things. So if you look at this permission simulation, first on the left hand side you see that there's a master permission, and then on the second tab there's actually tenant permission. Then the next tab is actually the permission code, all the example permission code that you can create. Alright, so And if you are looking at the tenant permission, we also simulate all the way down. This is a table by table, so you can see that there's an entity. This entity, we even put example of a Samsung, Panasonic for the Senheng project. And then after we put the Senheng by branch, by company, then we also put there some sample permission definition. This sample permission definition, for example, TNT dash API dash sales invoice dash post dash void dash validate dash by branch. And then not only that, if you look at each of the example column, we have a not only permission code here, we have a permission type being defined. So when we have a permission type being defined, then we even have a permission option. Why we need to put this permission option, all these things in the permission definition table is because when we create the link, if you look at here, when we create the link, okay, when we, when we are creating, this is sorry, okay, when we are creating the link here, okay, sometimes we don't know whether this link can be used for which target. Let's just say, when I say create invoice, if my permission is specified for creating invoice target by branch, okay, it makes sense. Create invoice target by company makes sense. Target invoice by entity, which is a customer or supplier, which also makes sense. But if I were to say that I create a sales invoice by cash book, it doesn't make sense to you. If I say I create an invoice by item code, it also don't make sense. Permission by item code, you know, if you have 10,000 item code, like 1,000 employees, you want to create 1,000 times 10,000 is almost 100,000, 1 million permission in order to configure the system. This one don't make sense. So what I'm saying is that in this spreadsheet we have some simulation of the permission, and when you assign the role to the permission, there's a target type, whether it should be stored as unique, whether it should be stored this we also give you some example of the target header, an example of the target header table, and we purposely in this simulation also give you example of the one with a target header and a target line. Okay, and then if you're looking at the this is a tenant permission, and if you're looking at the how the permission assigning role, how the role and then the target, the group work. Okay, an example of group and login subject, and versus the one in the master database table, how we actually do the linking. Wait, I think this one has got more. In the master table, there are more example because we give you all the way to the to all the example fields. Okay. So this one is definition. Okay. So in terms of back to our discussion, which is which point already? The implementation of the UI and the guideline, and then we talk about.
Chapter, you were facing the problem, but did you follow the exact steps that Samira showed you to set up in order to?
She just showed me yesterday. That's why I want to test in the Senheng so that I can create the role, everything. But she not publish, complete the code and publish the Senheng how to test.
Oh, I see.
This is my problem yesterday.
Okay, noted.
Even I want to follow, I only can follow in account.com. Even account.com also cannot test
Basically,
on
if
that.
you follow the steps, right after she published the code, you're saying.
I just follow the guide and do lah.
But first it's only on the setup, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the setup I cannot start yet, then how to test the rest?
Okay, that is one point.
Yeah.
It means that you're facing the problem that the setup piece of work is not
Yeah.
published lah,
Yeah
right?
lah.
I see. Okay.
That's why it said done, then it's not done lah, because we cannot test in
Okay,
the tenant.
okay.
then how-
So let's say for example you go to a hospital you're a patient or you don't say hospital say restaurant you go to restaurant you talk to the people in the restaurant, the cook will say that the chicken is cooked, the food is prepared, I'm
But
done my
the
job
customer-
already but the customer is not getting the food. The waiter say that I've already pressed the bell already, but the happened that another waiter is supposed to deliver that thing, forget, nobody tell me. Okay, this nobody tell me thing is something we also need to eradicate in our team.
Yeah.
Trust me, let's say in Malaysia, if or I believe in other countries also lah. Let's just say you go and smoke in a restaurant. Okay, last time can, but now cannot Then you smoke in the restaurant then the police catch you and fine you 500 ringgit, 3,000 ringgit, you go to jail for 3 days or something like that. Then you tell the police that nobody tell me cannot I didn't know I didn't know. Let's say the law has been established, they publish in the newspaper, you didn't read the newspaper, actually you didn't do anything wrong, you really don't know, but you smoke in the restaurant, you didn't know there's a new law. So then you get caught, then you feel very bitter about it. Oh, this government is bad or something like that. Actually no point you complain for what, you know what I mean? So what I'm just saying is that there's this thing in the team that I think we need to eradicate the thinking of nobody told me, it's not my fault, but let's say like Nokia CEO, the company, he say we didn't do anything wrong but somehow it just failed. Then Nokia CEO, you think he can still go to the shareholder, give me 100 million bonus? Cannot, very difficult, right?
So
he didn't do anything wrong, but somehow the project failed. So to make a project successful, actually it requires us to actually consider many factors, and we cannot just like follow by the rules or just this is my job scope, that one is not I do, then our whole team fail together. Right? Okay.
So other than this, is there any issue regarding the permission?
Because I need to test what like Norisa said that.
This is the first one you
Yeah,
test
this is the
right?
first one. This
Okay.
one is the
Okay,
first
okay.
part. Okay.
I have a question I have a question for Lina, and then next question is for Norizan. The reason why I asked you is because I wanted to get your attention, Norizan, sorry. So I asked Lina first.
I'm listening, just doing the coding.
Okay. Lina, in your opinion, which type of permissions are usually hard-coded at the back-end API level, and which type of permissions are hard-coded at the Angular side? Amira, can you answer? Amira, pay attention. I repeat my question. All of you pay attention. Give me some examples of the application that are hard-coded. When I say hard-coded, means in your source code you need to actually hard-code the permission key. Okay, which type of permissions are hard-coded in the Angular side, and which type of permissions are hard-coded in the API side?
Hard-coded on the Angular side would be permission definition.
Permission definition also need to be hard-coded in the API side.
API also. Correct.
So I'm referring to the one that is here but not there, and there but not here.
To someone to have permission to give another person permission, this must be hard-coded in backend. For example, in front-end, if you want to give someone permission depending on the date he has been here at the company. He started depending on the date he started working at the company. So this kind of permissions is front-end.
Okay. Do you understand what he's saying?
No, I'm not sure, but I don't see any difference. I think in both back-end and front.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand. That's why I'm a communicator. You see, I can understand you and I can understand her. Then after that, I try to summarize together and clean up. I think you are capable of doing this as well. I think your communication skill is okay, but you need to improve. But anyway, yeah, continue.
I think there is nothing special to front end and nothing special to back end. Maybe a dangerous, let's say dangerous permission, like maybe create invoice, maybe or issue bill or anything. Maybe this type, maybe you need to hard code it in both sides to make sure here and here we check for the permission.
I understand.
I
understand you.
Anything is special.
I understand you. You have mentioned a certain part, some of the part that you say about dangerous and all these things, I agree. And then what Taim was saying is that some of the things that those that are granting permissions to other permissions need to be in the back end. Those that control the business logic, like can start work after a certain date, all those things in the Angular side. You are talking about the business logic. You are talking about the risk and the security. How about Norizan? What type of permissions should be in the Angular and what type of permissions should be in the API? In your opinion, wrong, never mind, just shoot. Tembak je.
Tembak je. Honestly, the Angular is like normally a basic permission, general permission. It should be in the API side, I think so. General, which is applied for all level. That means it applied for all applets or anything. It should be.
Should be where?
In API part. If for like a specific permission, which will be different in some component or some applet, it should be done in the Angular side. I think so.
Okay. So let me I ask you one question based on your answers. When you say general, the angle that you approach is general or non-general. So let's just say I want to assign a certain role to a certain branch to create an invoice. Do you consider this as a general?
Certain role?
Let's say a certain role tied to a certain branch. Let's say a branch manager or branch owner or branch or company owner.
That one should be in the Angular side. Isn't it?
Okay.
But for me, general means probably the tenant level, like only this tenant to this, I don't know.
Okay. Amira, do you understand Norisan?
Not well, but I agree with Ryan that sometimes what the customer wants need to be customized in the Angular, although it can also be customized in the API.
Okay. How about time? Do you agree with what Norisan said?
She said very abstract idea. I mean, no, I don't agree. It has to be vacuum.
Okay. How about Samira? Can I have some feedback from you? What sort of permissions you think should be in the Angular, manage and control, or if take effect in the Angular? What type of permission should take control in the API?
For Angular side, the permission that customize the screens, like create, update, delete, this type of permissions.
In the Angular or in the API?
Both. She is supposed to be both in both sides, but I need to use it on Angular side to customize in the Angular side. Also, for customization of screens, maybe later we will have front-end customization. That is from the front end. It's supposed in the Angular part, not on the back-end part. But for security and high risk, with the one that should deal with the back-end security issues, all supposed to be protected from the back-end.
Okay, so now you see, each of us we offer different idea, right? Different perspective of the permission.
It's not absolute.
Right. It's okay, no problem. It doesn't need to be perfect, right? If you ask me the same questions, and if I were to be sitting there and answering, I also very difficult to explain everything. Very difficult. I understand, no problem. But that is why we have meeting, and that's why I have a job as a CEO, right? So if not, I get fired already. Okay. So now, what I'm trying to do, my job is to simplify a very complex idea into something that can be easily followed. Okay. So I would like to draw a table. Okay. I would like to draw a table. So in this table, I will need your help and your input to tell me what column I need to, what row I need to have. Okay. So here I have an angular, and here I have API or backend. Okay. So number one, just now you talk about security. Somebody talk about security. Okay, Lina. Okay, so I'm going to write here security. So security usually for the back end is what do you say again? The security. What is in the front end? What is in the back end?
I say some dangerous tasks need to be checked both in back end and front to make sure.
Okay. She used the word dangerous, right? But when we want to specify something easy for the programmer to follow, when we use things like dangerous, fast, slow, these are qualitative words. But we want to make the language more sharp so that there is no ambiguity. Right? So when we talk about dangerous, actually maybe what you are saying is that certain permissions that may authorize, that requires authorization, at the server side. Example, that means that okay, because when we are doing a cloud native application, our client can be Windows application, it can be Angular application, it can be another server or something like that. So there could be so many different type of applications that are making the API call. So what I would say is that at the server side, usually we are looking at the low level security, right? Low level security. That means that at the file level, whether you can read or write this file, this information, this record. So I would say that security wise, the API backend usually are dealing with low level security. For example, usually since we are talking about the low level security, usually we are talking about each endpoint. We have a create, update, delete, and read, right? So usually this low level security is referring to create, read, update, and delete. And it is a basic read, basic write, basic delete, right? Because we have a query function, subquery that time do. In that query, you can query anything you want, and when you query anything you want, it doesn't return you the information of the invoice, but it will return you the GUID of the invoice, like PKID of the invoice, GUID. So when you have a GUID or primary key of the invoice, then with this GUID, it means nothing to you unless you use this GUID to go and pull the full invoice. So that means that most of the endpoint that we have, actually when we talk about the security permissions and all that stuff, we are looking at the low level security. And if let's say there are sometimes an invoice, maybe some customers say, Vincent, my manager, I will allow him to edit the remarks, but I don't allow him to edit the price. my cashier, remark cannot edit, everything cannot edit. My accountant can edit the price and the remarks, but cannot delete the invoice, cannot delete. So now when you listen to this requirement, right, your brain need to be very sharp in the sense that you need to start thinking. One is deleting the whole document. So that means that at the API level, usually we are talking about the whole document. Okay, we are talking about the whole document. When you say delete, edit the whole document, this kind of thing, then it is permission at the API level. But if we are looking at, I want to allow this person to edit the document, but not editing the price, but only can edit the remarks.
That one is update.
That one has to be in the Angular side.
But the setup is on the
Right, so
the back end.
wait, okay, this one I'll come to it. So this one is like editing of a certain field within the document. When I explain like this, let's say a programmer read this guide, do you think it is very easy for the programmer to immediately identify this one is front end, this one is back end?
Easier than that.
Because this one you can answer yes or no. This one you can answer this edit is editing whole document or editing only one field. You straight away you can answer.
Still, there are some cases this cannot answer.
Okay, example.
Actually, I already forget about it.
Okay, no problem. We further discuss later. Maybe you have the idea. You can just come back to this. How about Norizan? Just now, what point you were saying? The general permission.
Should be in the API backend.
Okay, general permission is very subjective. When you say general, right?
Yeah.
So when you explain, you try to explain by using certain criteria that people can answer yes or no easily, by actually clearly identifying, is this edit the whole document or delete the whole document or delete a certain column or certain field, right? So the next part is that security. Besides security, just now you say what point?
I said in the front end, suppose someone would grant someone else permission depending on the date he joined the company.
Okay. So that means that the permission, when you say someone,
I mean,
okay, I understand what you're saying. You tell me whether I'm explaining you correctly. When somebody can join a company after a certain date or before a certain date, he can sell the product below certain price or above certain discount or something like that. These are what we call the business logic, right? These are business logic, and usually when we say business logic, if a driver has not checked in yet, he cannot get his payment. If this one, the invoice has not been approved by the manager yet, then this invoice cannot email out or send out as a PDF. These are example of a business logic. So business logic usually are high level permissions, and usually business logic are things that have a variety of conditions. So these things are usually to be in the front end, the Angular. If you are talking about the back end, usually it is endpoint based on create, update, delete, or something like that.
We can summarize by 2 words. I think all what we say back-end side for whole permission, for front-end side for specific parts or
Yeah, and also usually the back-end permissions, the purpose of being it is whether you can do or you cannot do, like create, update, delete of the base record, low-level records. But in the Angular side, let's just say I have a permission to be able to create an invoice and give a package free gift or something like that to the customer. These are Angular permissions, and in order to enforce this permission, and one very clear characteristic is that usually in the Angular side, you make the permission at the Angular side if it involves multiple low-level permission. Don't understand, huh? Let's just say, if I design a permission and this permission is to create an invoice at any price. Sorry. Let's just say I want to create a cash sale, and when I create this cash sale, I need to actually have the permission to issue a sales return, create a cash sales, collect the payment, and maybe on screen, because I want to create a cash sale, so maybe for it to be user friendly, if you see some software, if you search the customer, you cannot find the customer, it will ask you whether you want to create, you can create the customer in the same screen without going here, going there to create a customer. In the same screen, you can create a customer, right? So let's just say I create a permission called, this is a cashier permission. So this cashier permission is a high-level permission. But in this high-level permission, actually it is a combination of many other small-level permission. It means that he actually need to have a permission to the endpoint to create the invoice, to actually create the payment, to create the customer. He also need the permission for that. That means that the Angular side of the programmer, when you are coding the permission, you are actually coding high-level permission, but behind the scene, you are actually requesting for multiple low-level permission to be assigning to this user. This one you have to be, it means that if you are the Angular programmer, you better make sure that you have a clarity of thoughts whether this is a high-level permission or this is a low-level permission. If it is high-level permission, I actually need to, when creating the, granting the permission to this user, I actually need to create multiple small permissions. Now, I can also tell you that whatever we discuss today, if you work in a company that develop web-based application like EMP, you will not experience this. No chance. But because we are developing a real cloud-native architecture, it makes it more complicated because we have a permission at the API, we have the permission at the front end, and it needs to be separate so clearly, and therefore you have the opportunity to actually really understand that if you want to call yourself an engineer of the microservices, by just knowing a RESTful API, download the sample from the Spring example, it's nothing. When you really want to do a real API, okay? So when it comes to the permission, it's not just the business logic. Any other point just now, Samira? You mentioned some point.
I want to add something.
Okay.
Now, for example, we have a supplier, right? Supplier has a contact person. So, can we add supplier without contact person?
Can.
Okay. Then when I grant permission to the supplier, suppose, so how this supplier can test? Just how he will log in as a login subject, right?
Okay. Good question, very good questions, because her questions actually encompass many things. First of all, she's asking whether I add a supplier, can I add the contact person? Should it be one permission or should it be multiple permission? Now, you need to understand first of all that adding a contact person to the supplier is different endpoints.
I know.
So that also means that when you want to do this, you actually involve multiple endpoints. When you
Okay,
have
so for when I grant specific permission for supplier, it's an entity. When I want to test, how I have to log into the system? How I have to log in with supplier?
With the contact person.
With the contact person.
With the contact person,
Ah.
right.
With the
So
contact
if they want to log in with the contact person, is there linking between supplier and contact person? That means when I grant this permission to the supplier, it will grant it to its contact person or not?
The supplier actually won't log in. It's just the contact person. that's
I know,
logging in.
I know.
Yeah.
But I grant the permission for the supplier,
Okay.
and in order for this stuff, you got this thing, right?
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Now, there are actually one more dimension that you need to take into consideration. You see,
Just
currently
now I'm
you are
asking things.
talking about supplier, and then you are talking about contact person,
Yeah.
and then you need to understand that there's another thing that is called login subject,
Yeah,
or
login subject.
or the user.
Yeah.
So when you create a supplier, you can attach as many contact person to the supplier.
Yes.
But this doesn't mean that there is a login. They cannot log in. But you also need to understand that actually what is really giving you the permission is actually the link table, which is shown here. This is the link table. This is the link table that actually will grant you the permission to the supplier. So
Okay.
so if you look at this thing, this part that I put green color is the target. This is the target. Okay. So if you look at the yellow color, this one is actually the assignee. Okay. And then you have a target, you have an assignee, then you need another permission. So I need to have a red color here and permission.
Do not confuse. Put the assignee is a role, so we will not confuse. They will not confuse with the current screens.
Okay.
Just
Assignee
as
is
role, not login something.
Okay, so this one as a row.
Yeah.
So this one is referring to the row, because this one can be login subject or row or group or team. Okay, so the assignee can be row, group or team, the assignee. Now what we are trying to say here is you are creating the link that actually trying to link to this contact person under this supplier to this.
Yeah, because currently we link between the role and the permission and the supplier, not contact person, with the supplier.
But the tricky part, is that this permission that you are trying to grant actually involves multiple endpoint. You agree? It involves multiple endpoint because not only I need to call the endpoint to create the supplier, to read the supplier, but I actually also need the endpoint to add a contact person. Don't forget, in a supplier header, you can have multiple extension and multiple line, and the same supplier table can be used by multiple different applets, and each of these applets may be done by different programmers, different companies.
My question
So-
exactly. I grant this to this supplier, and supplier has login subjects, okay, has contact persons. Supplier has contact person. So these contact persons, suppose when they log in into the system, as I grant the permission for supplier to see what I granted to the supplier, right?
No, you can't grant to the supplier. You can only grant to the login subject or the role. You cannot grant permission to a supplier as assignee. Cannot.
I mean target.
Oh, the target.
Target
Okay.
is supplier.
Okay.
The supplier is a target.
Okay.
So I grant him permission as a target for the supplier.
Okay.
So the contact person of this supplier, when he log in, he's supposed to also granted these permissions, right?
That
There's
is
the
why-
missing part.
Yeah, the missing part is the granting
It's all
part.
about how shall we implement it.
Because
we
because
need to look at the
currently
SQL
I
query or
didn't
something
find
like that.
I didn't find connecting between the supplier and the contact person.
Oh, between the supplier and the contact person, if you look at the contact person, currently they are using extension or they're using line for the contact person.
They're using line.
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 So if they are using line, okay, this one, I think you need to understand what is the meaning of composite. Composite
The permission name is
versus aggregate.
read internal, is it?
Yes.
Is it read internal?
Look internal.
Okay.
Read internal purchase order, right?
Dear master, top student, CGPA 4.0, whatever. Lina exclude already discussed with you all the top university Malaya, prestigious university. Can somebody tell me the difference between this is association versus aggregation versus composition? Don't see, cannot see, So what's the difference? All the top students.
Googling.
I'm not a top student.
Come.
No, I'm waiting for graduation.
Okay.
Graduation.
If something composed of something else,
Composition, okay,
the laptop composed of processor and RAM and these things, that means you cannot have a laptop without a processor. I mean, it will not function well.
Okay.
This is composition. Aggregation is like a company has aggregation with its employees. If one employee left, the company will not be still can function. I mean,
but the processor, if you take out a graphics card, also the computer can still be a computer.
Laptop and processor, not laptop and graphic cards.
So composite like
The relation between
a car.
between processor and laptop is composition. Specific between these two.
Okay.
But between company and employee, it's not composition, it's aggregation. Because
Association.
the company
Uses
has an employee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Composition,
Not
is
composed.
Not composite.
okay. When you say processor and laptop is a composition, okay. The explanation of a composition example here is different.
Car wheel.
Because the example that it gives here is a person and a leg. So person and the leg have to attach to a person, compulsory. Okay. So if you're looking at the processor, okay, processor of course it can be embedded in a camera, it can be embedded in a computer, it can be embedded in a mobile phone or something like that. It can even be embedded into a, let's say, a car, embedded processor in a dashboard. There's no computer, but it is being used ARM processor. So maybe actually you understand the meaning, but it's just that maybe the example that you give is not a good example, but I think you understand the meaning. So when it comes to the association, it gives the example of a student with the instructor. So there's one to many, many to one, or something like that. So when you look at the association, you can think about the permission link. But if you go one step deeper, you need to understand that usually what we write here, one to many, many to one, and all that, in a permission link, can somebody tell me whether we are using star schema or snowflake schema? Star.
Actually,
Or you know the difference between snowflake?
Yes, I know. But I'm not sure whether we are applying one of them. I'm not sure whether we are. You mentioned before that you are using one of them.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure about that.
Okay, no problem.
Because my understanding for these things is
Yeah,
different.
no problem. It's okay. So another interesting homework to do. Okay, if you look at the snowflake versus star schema, there is a difference. Actually, this is not a good one.
The difference is hierarchical of the Snowflake's hierarchical interventions. You might have multiple hierarchy of dimensions that are linked to the fact table. Might be multiple levels. In the star schema, just one level of dimensions.
I understand what you're saying is that from here to here versus from here to here, then you break some more. Based on here, it used a very sharp terminology to say that whether there's a redundant data or no redundant data. If there's a redundant data or implicit data that is being hidden in that schema, then it is considered as this one has redundant data, hence less easy to maintain for star schema. And then the type of data warehouse, the query performance, and the type of joins that you need. This one, I think we are using the star schema, but I may be wrong. Bear in mind, I'm just an electrical engineer, I'm not a computer scientist. Omar, you missed out quite a lot of discussion, but maybe you can watch the video after that. One of the things is that I was asking them, do they know, you know the difference between association, composition, and aggregation?
Aggregation, yeah.
What's the difference with composition? Composition versus aggregation versus association. Don't know, right? Never mind, it's okay. Most of us don't know anyway. No, but the thing is that when I was having a discussion with Lina yesterday, I was challenging her to. I was asking her. You were saying something about the DAO and something like that, right? So, to solve a problem, a programming problem, I think anybody can just hack out a code and make it work. Not a problem. But to make the code reusable, elegant, structured, maintainable, so I was asking Lina that which design pattern are you using? So she didn't really study the design pattern before. So you will study and then you will tell me which one you're using and why, right? So what I'm saying is that maybe in a different place, in a different company, in a different team, all you need to do is make it work. That's it. You don't need to understand why. And the boss don't care anyway. He doesn't understand this anyway. What we are doing here is that you are really being grilled. I tell you, I'm grilling all of you. I'm sorry. I know it's painful for you, but I need to grill, and I need to grill you to make sure that the software that we are developing is more easily maintained in the future, is more stable, more bug-free, and all that stuff. So, back to our discussion about the permissions. Just now you were asking a question whereby a supplier has got multiple contact person, and you do not have the endpoint to actually associate this. Okay, but what I want to say is that the endpoint to attach a contact person to the supplier is in the entity endpoint or create supplier endpoint. You should be able to create the endpoint with the line, no problem. And then the association of the role to the supplier and the contact person, you can actually just call the permission link endpoint. You can just call the permission link endpoint to insert the permission. Okay, to insert the permission. So I think with a combination of these 2 to 3 endpoints, you should be able to achieve what you want, to actually assign a permission that you require to a certain group of people to access the contact person. Why cannot?
It's not clear like this. It's not clear.
Okay, this part is an endpoint. This one is let's say entity endpoint. Okay, entity. This part is actually the role, creating the role endpoint. This part is actually the link, permission, assignee link endpoint.
Now we have app permissions, assign target link. You suggest to have master and detail. master and lines, you suggest to have something like this.
Sorry, I don't understand. Can you explain?
Now,
a bit more?
to do this connection, we refer to the app permission assignee target link.
Yes, you need to use that.
I use this so to connect the contact person with the
login subject.
Yeah, to connect it because they are under specific supplier, so when they can log in, they can see.
Yes.
So what exactly we will do?
So what happen is that you will create this link, okay? I mean this link.
App permission assignee target
Okay.
link table.
And when you create this link, you put in reference to here and to here to a specific permission.
Okay.
And because this is the user who need to have access to the statement of account for this supplier.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I think I know what you're asking, but I can explain. Number one, you need to have a permission to this person. The permission that we grant, we ask, can he create an entity? No, he cannot.
But he is contact for this supplier, supposed to.
Okay.
Okay.
So he's the contact person for this supplier. So the next question I ask is, his permission is granted to read and write. Maybe he can update his own email, so he can read and write. There's a permission to this contact person. Contact person means the entity line.
Yes.
That means that the permission for him to read and write or something, the target has to be GUID of the entity line. The target on the target side. And then on the permission side, I would say there could be a few permissions that you need to take care. Maybe number one permissions that he needs to have is actually permission to read and update, but not the delete of the entity.
So
And not only that, because each entity may have a general ledger, statement of account. So this person may also need to have read permission to the general ledger with a certain ID.
I got yours. Just look here for this. We have the target is GUID of the entity. Now we have the line. So if he has two contact persons, supposed to have two lines.
Yeah.
With but the endpoint doesn't provide this for us.
No, you call two times.
I know.
You can call two times the endpoint. Now the endpoint.
The endpoint supposed to give me the line of this supplier. Supposed to give me this to grant this the permission, but it doesn't give me this thing.
Time on your side. When they call the entity, they can get the line GUID, right? So why is she saying that she cannot?
Actually, I haven't tried this endpoint before, but as usual, yes, you can get the lines with the headers, with the extensions.
So what you do is you split into two steps. That means that the first step is you only get the GUID of the line and something like that. Then on this link part, it is a different endpoint which you call separately and insert this. Of course, for the Lina side and the time side, actually Adalis is not here and Norizan. When they are calling the endpoint, actually it is quite tricky that you need to differentiate and think of all possible scenarios. That's why developing microservices is not so simple.
One more question. If this supplier has this contact person, right? Okay? And when I grant permission, I grant permission to this contact person. When this supplier wants to remove this contact person, supposed to affect the permission to remove his permission. Is it done?
Okay. This one is a business logic. So because this business logic permission actually consists of multiple low-level permission.
Okay.
So that means that
that means when the Angular part want to remove contact persons, make sure to remove the permission for the contact person for this supplier.
Samira, I think that is not so straightforward because when you remove a contact person, alright, but the other fellow would already have maybe something to do with cognito or things like that, right? That's why Hassan, he purposely don't want to let people remove the contact person first for various reasons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have one suggestion.
Yes.
I have one suggestion. As you can see that in our application here, we have okay. If I draw it this way, whereby you can actually see that there's a login, and then if you go down, there's a group. Then if you go down level, there's role. Then if you go down further, there's a permission. Of course, all the target and stuff like that. But anyway, although the login can skip the group or the team and go to the role, or the user can also go directly to the permission. But one of the way to solve your problem easily, without complicated stuff, is we make good use of the role. Why I say you make good use of the role? Because like you said, to grant this user login to be able to access this and that and that and that and that. But sometimes if you remove, I want to remove from the role. So I use this role as a group of low-level permission instead of creating high-level permission.
What's high, what is low?
Okay. What is high-level permission as per our discussion
Just in this context, like
just now?
yeah.
This is a low-level API backend base, and then usually is pertaining to create, update, read, and delete, and usually is applicable to the whole document.
Okay.
So these are low-level permission.
Okay.
So high-level permissions are referring to editing of a certain field. I say you can edit the document, but editing certain field can sell below cost. All these things are, you can still update the whole document. If you are naughty, you go and screw up the document. You're not supposed to edit the supplier name, but you go and edit the supplier name. Because in the API side, currently we are not controlling to the stage where field level permission. Wow, that one go crazy already, right? So at the API side, usually we are endpoint driven. But at the programming in the Angular side, we go to the field, you can sell below cost, all those things are high level permission. Steven,
Sorry.
you asked me a question, alright? So then if we go back to this slide, what I'm trying to say is that one of the shortcuts we can do is to make use of the role to specify low-level permission. Use the role to group a group of low-level permission, and then with this role, I put another group here that you can assign multiple roles, because one group can be associated to multiple roles. And then only you put another user to associate to multiple group, then actually most of the problem can be solved, except for maybe some special cases. Then you have special permission.
we lost with the implementation.
Yeah. I think if we restrict the permission only to role level, we may avoid many problems. Like when we need to maybe delete a user or revoke a permission from him, maybe we need to remove the user from the group or the role.
The role, yeah.
But in this scenario, when we assign permission to user or group or to role, here we have many ways or many scenarios. We need to make sure to delete the user from group and role and all permission. And I think if we restrict the permission to only one level, maybe the most generic level, role level, we may avoid many problems. just we need to revoke permission. Just we need to remove user from the group. No need to delete from link table and whatever.
Okay. Some of you blur already. Okay. I tell you what, we take a break. We will stop our discussion now because if too long the discussion brain damage already, like saturation. So
getting to the goal.
Yeah. So okay. One last thing before we stop the meeting.
Yep.
Okay. If you ask me, personality, attitude, character versus capability, IQ, which one is more important?
The first.
I tell you, the personality, character, that one is more important than the IQ because the attitude, the positive attitude, the willing to solve problem, willing to accept differences. Not everybody think like us, but we can accept other people think differently from us. The attitude of being grateful, the being considerate to other people, being helpful, all this more important than the ability. If we have this and we stand as one team, we solve problem together, no matter how big, how tough is the problem, we combine our, even average, all of us are stupid, let's say, but we combine all our strength together, we can still solve the problem. Okay, so thank you very much for your time. It's a very good discussion. At least we dig out a lot of things that we previously did not consider. I think we can have more discussion like this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Samira, that piece of code was already working, right?
I want to do something.